Hello, car modelers out there. It's Sunday, end of March, last weekend of March, and I'm just trying to catch up on a little bit of modeling. This is what I've got somewhat going now while I'm waiting for my parts and pieces to dry on the Mustang. The Mustang, as you know, is on the go. I white glued the window in it, and that is still drying. And I added on some of the detailing parts, the chrome, the lights, the front bumper and grill and that, and doing some of that. So I'm going to flip it upside down. So in the meanwhile, I have been building this Chevelle, and actually I did a video on the Chevelle earlier, and like I mentioned last video, I locked up my computer. So, I'm missing video number 1 on the Chevelle. Basically, what I'm doing is trying to replicate a vehicle I had in 1982 that I bought. Actually, I never bought it. Sorry, I'm lying. I got it in a trade. It was a 72 heavy Chevy Chevelle. And what happened was, I got it in a trade for a motor. When I was 14 to 17, I had built myself a motor, a 350 Chevy. Original plan was to put that motor into a Vega, but my dad didn't want that. He says I better start out with something a little bit, with a bit more weight and a little not as fast, so I wouldn't kill myself. So I spent 3 years working at Kentucky Fried Chicken and delivering newspapers, making the money to build this engine. It was a 350, freshly rebuilt, had the heads redone, did the valve jobs in them, a solid lifter cam, 4-barrel intake. It was a fairly hot little motor. I would say it was running probably around 350 horse or so, somewhere around there. And so to find a vehicle to put it in while I got used to driving, we picked up that winter of 83, I guess 82 to 83. We picked up a 65 Pontiac Custom Sport. Basically, it's a Canadian version of a fancy Parisian or whatever the American... Oh, Grand Prix, that's what the Americans had, yeah. They had the Grand Prix 2+2 or something. And in Canada, it was a Parisian Custom Sport, Buckets Council, all that. Anyways, we bought it for $600. It was a 283 car, Power Glide, la-da-da. And I spent the winter driving that. When spring come, we thought, okay, we're going to put the hot rodded motor in it and have some fun. And I advertised for sale the 283 out of the Pontiac. And a guy with a 71 Camaro, I guess maybe it was, I'm not sure. But he came and he decided to buy that engine. And he wanted nothing fancy, just a regular street-driven car. He ended up putting headers and a 4-barrel in it, nothing fancy. He just wanted, like I said, a driver. And what he did was we put the 283 for sale for $300. And he says, you know, I'm trying to save money. I'm trying to bargain here. Would you be interested in a Chevelle for trade? So I went and looked at the Chevelle, and it ended up being a heavy Chevy Chevelle. It still had it was in primer. It had no motor though. Well, actually, it did have a motor. It was just a short block sitting in the engine bay. Heads were off it, all rusted, seized up, la da 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 da. So we took the trade, even trade, $300. I figured it was worth it. The vehicle. It had a cowl induction hood. Factory, they came with the cowl induction. It had a 12-bolt rear end, but 273 gears. And I guess, yeah, I'll get into that more later. It had a rubber floor matting. The heavy Chevelles were very cheap model. They had no Buckets Council option. It was a bench. It was an ugly green bench seat, green interior. It had a column shift. And then, like I said, the rubber floor mats. And The body was rusted in the corner panels for sure, and the front fenders were somewhat rusty too. But you could see the heavy Chevy decals on the inside of the door jambs. And the door jambs, it was definitely a green color. I found out later it was spring green. I called it menthol green because it was actually a pretty nice bright green. So I had that car, and I thought for a while, maybe I should sell the 350 engine and pick up a 427 that a farmer had that I knew. It was a truck 427, and it was out of a grain truck. He wanted like $135 for the motor. It was blowing or whatever. Had scratches in the bores from, I guess, sucking gravel and dirt and stuff in from driving up and down the gravel roads. And I'd really thought about buying that, and I never did. I kind of wish I did. So basically, the model I'm building is replicating what I should have built back then. It was a 427 heavy Chevy Chevelle, and I probably would have done it in the green color. I originally thought that heavy Chevy Chevelle that I picked up that back then, I thought it was a small block car because it had in the radiator, I guess the rad frame shell there, it had a 400 sticker, GM 400, da 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 da. We thought, well, it's a 400 small block. Oh, that's kind of neat, but nothing fancy. But then later I found out that actually that was a 400 big block car, LS3. I had no clue that they, back then, that they put big blocks in them, because I thought in 72 it was eliminated big blocks. And total production of heavy Chevelles was 9,508, and my dad actually got rid of that car only 5 years ago, or 6 years ago, somewhere around then. So you know what? I should have probably tried to get that car off of him, because it is a bit of a rarity. 9,508 heavy Chevy Chevelles, and probably a very, very few of them were big blocks. Anyways, I will stop rambling and let's go on to the unboxing and where I am on this vehicle. So I got some of the parts strewn out here. It's a very basic kit. I got some of the rear end together. I'm gonna be very basic and probably just put this rear end in the car. The chassis is a very basic. Upper control arms are molded in. I painted this a flat black. I airbrushed it. I can't remember what kind of airbrush. Oh, sorry. I think it was a trim clad I used on it. The motor I did up as basic stock 427. The intake is actually out of a different thing. I will have to, the distributor was cast in it. Kind of cheesy, yeah, I know, but we'll try and clean that up. I did the valve covers similar to the way I did my 350 back then in the early 80s. I had painted inside of the ribs and left the chrome showing. So that is the start of the engine. This doesn't belong to that. That's actually to the Dart. We're not going to go with the kit headers out of the AMT kit. Or actually, sorry, that's stock exhaust. That's not headers. We're going to do headers on this. The kit headers are just god-awful, cheap and ugly. And we'll open this up a bit and show you a bit more of what's going on. We're not going to do the body yet. The kit, I guess, comes with a blower. It does have a blower as an option on this, and comes with some very basic cheap BF Goodrich tires. And as I said, the headers are wow. Yeah, they're pretty cheesy, so I don't know if I'm gonna add them. I don't know if mainly I'm gonna add them because they don't match the block or the car itself. They look very small tubish, but I'm unsure. So this is some of the factory stock parts and pieces that they had added. Now what I did on this kit, it did come as a Buckets Council car, but back then I don't think I would have put Bucket's Council in it because I never had the money, just being a young kid. So what I did was I cut the council out, and I just went with Chevelle buckets. I sanded the edges, and I'm gonna get ready. I primed everything, getting them ready for paint. And that's what I have. The interior is all ready. And I think later on tonight, I'm gonna detail the painting process. This is what I've got for mixes of paint. I got, sorry I'm very bumpy on the video, I know, I'm trying to jump around and do all of this. Anyways, I got 3 different kinds of folk art paint, blah, 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 blah. And I'm gonna mix and match and make my own green color to match somewhat of the outside of the body color. And so I'm gonna actually do a video of that later. Did I say that already? God, I'm dumbass if I said it already and re-talking about it. So the body is turned out fairly decent. There wasn't a lot of mold flash to do on this. I painted it, or primed it about 2 weeks ago, so I really like to let my primers sit and flash out. I like to let all the solvents totally release before I do any painting. And again, the interior basic shell. If anybody's doing a super stock or a tubbed out car, this would be a good interior because the shell is very empty once it is. One discrepancy in the SS kit. If you notice on this, it does have a cowl induction flapper, and those weren't available in 1970. Sorry, they were available in 1970 only, the cowl induction. In 72 they didn't have this flapper, and probably because this car was used for multiple vehicles. I'm assuming it was an AMT 1970 kit. And for a heavy Chevy Chevelle, blah, I can't even say it, what we're going to do is basically fill that in, sand it out. There is also, I don't know if this camera can pick it up, but it says cowl induction in there. We're going to sand that out too. Another thing that I don't know what I'm going to do on yet is on the rear bumper it has SS markings. Heavy Chevy Chevelle never had that. I guess I could always try and sand it off and all clad it or put on a chroming or something, or send it out for recombering, but I don't know if I want to spend that extra. And the grill also has a SS emblem in there. I don't know if I'm going to leave that or take it out, but on the heavy Chevy Chevelles, the whole inside of the grill was all flat black on most of them. And I really like that style of grill, and that's what I would have went with back then. I will not be using the factory rallies that they come with the kit. I actually planning to keep these for a different model. A 65 Chevelle is what I'm going to put them on. And I don't got that kit yet, but I'm going to get that kit. And again, the 65 Chevelle is another car that I almost bought way back in around this era, mid-80s. And I come so close to buying it. And I didn't because it got hit on the back. And there was a lot of signs of body damage and panel replacement. And I thought, I better not take a risk and buy it. And you know what? I could have had it for $800. And I should have. But anyways, let's go back to my heavy Chevy Chevelle. I don't think I got more to talk on this other than that's where I am on the Chevy Chevelle, heavy Chevy. And I think I'll end it there, and I'll come back after a bit and show you the interior going on and painting. And yeah. Okay, we'll end it there. Thanks. Have a good day, everybody, and we will see you soon.